the Kibsey product. It looks like a very exciting product. I see a lot of potential in a wide range of industries, which is exactly why a strategic PR-focused content and SEO strategy can be, I believe, a huge driver of new business for them. I did look through SEMrush, and it looks like all of the organic traffic currently is going to the home page, or virtually all of it is anyway. So there's a lot of potential for growth there. There's a lot of potential for SEO to function alongside the other marketing efforts that you guys have in place and grow the business. So let's go over my pitch here. Very simple 2-phase process with a meeting at the end for us to discuss next steps. For the purposes of Upwork, these phases would be milestones. If you've set up jobs in Upwork before. So phase 1, I put March 20th as my due date. Of course, we can move that around as needed. It's flexible. I would like to have a meeting with you on this date or or near this date to review everything and talk specifics about phase 2. So this first phase, I anticipate taking 20 to 25 hours. This would be an opportunity for me to review the existing documentation. You mentioned some interviews. Any existing marketing documents or relevant sales collateral that's not already on the website. If you have interviews with stakeholders like Tolga, that would be great for me to acquaint myself with the value proposition and with the brand. This would also be when I do a preliminary SEO audit, which I don't remember if you said that had been done internally or not. The site's only about 29 pages, so this is not an intensive process for me, but it would be an opportunity to look for relatively easy areas for improvement, particularly with page titles, meta descriptions, any obvious technical issues that need to be referred to your design team, any conversion flow optimizations that we can make, such as pages funneling search engine users to the wrong place. And finally, I would also report on internal linking opportunities, any chance for those pages to really promote one another in a more effective way, and setting the baseline for the strategy to come. Also in phase one, I would conduct keyword research. Now, for most of my clients, this is where we focus on traffic drivers, the high volume, top of funnel keywords, right? And we will do that to an extent because that's going to be important for getting the brand visibility and growing our authority and our share of voice. But based on what I know about the product so far, I think the more important goal is booking product demos, right? And you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but during this research phase, I would really want to take a look at high intent keyword phrases, the really high converting kinds of keywords that maybe have a very low monthly search volume, but which I can ascertain through a variety of factors that they'll be extremely important for us to stake our claim on in the months ahead to really grow into this highly competitive landscape I'm finding out. Let's move on to the next slide. As we already mentioned at the end of phase 1, you and I would meet to discuss my initial findings and talk about phase 2. Phase 2, I am roughly scoping out 10 to 15 hours for that. And what does that look like for me? You'd mentioned you had about 80 topics waiting to be written. One of the first things I would want to do is prioritize those, see which ones match with the keyword research and the topic research that I've already performed. I would write content briefs for a select few of these topics, the ones that we designate as being high priority. As you mentioned, we have 9 solution pages on the website, and for each of those, there are 12 use cases. And I didn't see any duplication between those. So this is awesome. I think this is exactly where we would start. We would mix and match our ICP with these specific use cases to create highly targeted assets that would leverage customer interviews where possible. They may leverage questionnaires and surveys. I won't just be looking at potential blog articles, by the way. I would be suggesting case studies and testimonials, things that can really acquaint our readers with proprietary concepts such as visual twins, data enhanced reality. I think these kinds of proprietary phrases, once they become known to our market, we can really own all of the search results for those because we'll be the only ones talking about them. You mentioned we might be targeting folks like the heads of safety at an amusement park, the head of manufacturing at an assembly line or a factory, the regional operations manager of a restaurant chain. These are very specific, these are very niche, and they're very different kinds of customers. So I really believe each one of them is going to need a very specific kind of asset, which unfortunately in many cases won't have a lot of crossover for the other customers. For example, although we are creating content for decision makers at restaurant chains, we're not going to sell them on table management and parking lot management in the same piece of collateral. Most likely that would be two very different assets to sort of bring them in with the specific problem that's on their mind. And maybe you can introduce them to some other potential problems that they have as well, because if they're having a table management problem, they're probably also having a parking lot management problem. But I would approach the content laser focused on a specific ICP and a specific problem and our specific solution to that problem before launching into the smorgasbord of other solutions that we provide. Something else to note here: a lot of this content would not be created for the Kidsy site. I'm going to do a little digging into industry publications during phase 2, find out where the CTOs and the CIOs of our target companies are getting their information, where they're sort of hanging out online. Find out what they're reading. I believe this is the best way to surface advertising opportunities for one thing, but also SEO focused content amplification opportunities, guest posts, for example, maybe even industry specific podcasts where Tolga can appear as a guest to talk about the product. This is all about brand visibility, but also that podcast page would link to us, giving us a valuable backlink, bringing it back to the SEO side of things. We are going to look at where competitors like Voxel and RoboFlow are getting their press mentions. We're going to look and see where they're getting their industry mentions. Sometimes these are going to be paid placements. If we're lucky, we can pitch a use case. This would probably, a product comparison, for example, this would need to be something objective where we do talk about the competitors a little bit so we can maintain that appearance of objectivity. But again, we're really looking for the branding, visibility, and the backlink from a high authority website in our target industries, because that's going to be huge for SEO, growing our traffic and growing our brand. Let's keep things moving. So phase 2, I project to be complete by the end of March. Again, I would like to have a meeting at that point to go over everything and review next steps. That meeting, that discussion would simply be where we lay out my role in helping content production going forward. Hopefully at this point I've delivered enough for you guys to execute internally, but hopefully you'll bring me on to assist with this going forward. We can talk about how we're going to schedule and execute the content calendar. Ideally, we would have a plan in place to promote each piece of content before it's even written. There's no point in publishing articles and calling it a day, in my opinion. I think that every piece of content, no matter how small, whether it appears on the Kidsy website or a partner website, It needs to be created to serve a specific customer, and we should have a plan in place to get links to build the visibility that we need to grow our brand authority. So this is just sort of summarizing everything we talked about. Phase 1, the keyword research and the audit topic research. I can get this done in the next 2 to 3 weeks. Phase 2 would be planning out that content calendar and starting to really designate what platforms we could focus on for partnerships, for content amplification, guest blogs, things like that. And then finally, the next steps discussion, which we would have at the end of the month or at the beginning of April, to talk about what Q2 is going to look like for the company from an SEO and content marketing perspective.